West Papua is located on the western rim of the Pacific on the island of New Guinea, bordering the independent nation of Papua New Guinea. It is one of Australia's closest neighbours, with a land area about half the size of New South Wales. West Papua and Indonesia were both formerly Dutch colonies. Indonesia won independence in 1949, but West Papua remained under Dutch control. Recognising that West Papua had no political, historical or cultural connection to Indonesia, the Dutch groomed West Papua for independence during the 1950s. Indonesia, hungry for West Papua's rich natural resources, laid claim to all former Dutch colonies and conflict ensued. After negotiations between Indonesia and the Netherlands, it was decided that the issue would be put to the people in a 1969 referendum called the Act of Free Choice. Ignoring international demands to allow each adult a vote, Indonesia carefully selected 1,022 of the 800,000 West Papuans to participate in the referendum and subjected them to blackmail and threats of violence. After the results were tallied, Indonesia jubilantly announced that West Papua had unanimously accepted integration. West Papua's mineral richness has been known since 1936, when a Dutch geologist on an expedition through the mountain glaciers noticed a mountain of green rocks, which he called Erzberg, or Ore Mountain. Anxious to exploit this mountain, Indonesia sold exclusive 30-year mining rights in the Erzberg region, including the future site of the Grasberg mine, to Western mining giant Freeport-McMoRan in 1967. 2 years before the sham referendum was staged. Against the wishes of the West Papuan people, the mine opened in 1973 and began pumping slurry down the mountain. Although Freeport is an American company, Australian giant Rio Tinto also has a strong interest in Grasberg, as it owns 15% of Freeport. Additionally, Freeport and Rio Tinto are joint venture partners in the Grasberg mine, Rio Tinto receiving 40% of production above 125,000 tonnes per day. The mine is officially managed by PT Freeport Indonesia, of which the Indonesian government owns about 10%, with Freeport owning most of the rest. Grasberg's management is generally referred to simply and broadly as Freeport. Freeport has failed to meet even Indonesia's lax environmental standards. The mineral deposits are so plentiful that Freeport maximises its profit by wasting 14% of the copper in the ore, discharging the waste directly into the mountain river system. These tailings are extremely toxic and have filtered all the way to the Arafura Sea. Indonesia's water quality regulations permit roughly 4 times more dissolved copper than Australia's regulations, but the Ejikwa River system generally has twice Indonesia's allowance of dissolved copper and 8 times Australia's allowance from Grasberg all the way to the estuary. Freeport's tailing disposal has resulted in massive environmental damage. The tailings mostly accumulate in the coastal lowlands on the Ejikwa River's floodplain. This land is traditionally owned by the Chamorro people, who use it for hunting and fishing. Freeport refers to this land as the sacrifice zone, yet the people whose land has been sacrificed were not consulted, nor do they see any of the profit made from its destruction. Indonesia is frequently ranked among the world's most corrupt countries. Its complicity in this humanitarian and ecological disaster is not surprising. The Indonesian government owns around 10% of PT Freeport Indonesia, and Freeport is Indonesia's largest corporate taxpayer. Additionally, Freeport has paid the Indonesian military millions of dollars yearly for protection since the 1970s. The threat to Freeport from West Papua's independence movement is real. In 1977, the Papuan Independence Movement, OPM, dynamited the main slurry pipeline. In recent years, however, the OPM has adopted less violent tactics. In peace talks on August 25, 2002, OPM leader Kelly Kwalik called off planned attacks on Freeport and stressed his commitment to a peaceful Papua. The threat of attack has perhaps eased, but the Indonesian military's hunger for protection money remains voracious. In recent years, a string of suspicious attacks against Freeport has aroused international attention. On August 31, 2002, a party of Freeport employees returning from a picnic was ambushed. 3 people were killed and 11 injured. The military quickly blamed the OPM for the attack and produced the corpse of a local OPM leader, Elias Kwalik, whom they claimed to have shot in the woods surrounding the ambush site. A subsequent autopsy of Kwalik, however, revealed that he had died 12 hours previously and had a medical condition that would have prevented him from participating in the attack. A Freeport employee also testified that he had seen Kwalik 20 miles down the road around the time of the attack. The attack was perpetrated close to 2 army checkpoints and used more ammunition than the OPM would have been able to procure. In light of this evidence, the local police initially concluded that the Indonesian military was behind the attack, but later reversed their conclusion. It was the military who profited from the attack, demanding more protection money from Freeport and using the attack to justify violent action against the OPM and Papuans in general. It was from this environment of corruption and oppression that 43 West Papuans set out across the Torres Strait in an outrigger canoe seeking asylum in Australia. They were flown to a detention centre on Christmas Island while their authenticity as refugees was debated. The legitimacy of their accusations against the Indonesian government has since been verified, and they have all now been granted visas and returned to the Australian mainland. But their struggle is not yet over.